about Thursday night games. I predict, and then I'm wrong. So this. Welcome back to the Fantasy Backpack, where we carry people to championships. Now we're going to do the Thursday night previews. Now, full disclosure, I've gotten these wrong. I've gotten the Thursday night games wrong. I've been able to bet the games because the results, you get the results, you get the results. You're able to bet the score, whether the spread, etc. You can bet the spread, sure. But how they go about getting to that, I've gotten wrong. I mean, that Pittsburgh game, I thought Pittsburgh would win, but not the way they did last week against Carolina. So this game sets up, and I'm looking at it. I'm going through, trying to figure out which way I should bet. Plus, I have a bunch of players playing in this game, so I had to figure out whether I was going to start them. Was it safe? Did I feel like it was safe? So I figured this preview will be a lot of help to a lot of people too, because you probably have the same players and wondering, although I might make some drastic choices that you won't make, but that's okay. So let's get right into it. The quarterbacks. Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's been phenomenal in terms of fantasy. I mean, last week he had 90 plus rushing yards. Every week before that he had within the 20s or the 40s in terms of rushing. Great for fantasy. But I don't know how long this can be sustained. Playing Green Bay actually has the number 1 sack team defense in the league. Now, they're a little banged up in a cornerback, but their D-line is still really good. They have 31 sacks, which leads the NFL. Russell Wilson throws the ball on average 19 times a game. 19, 20 times. So he's getting a touchdown every 6.5 passes or so, because he's averaging 3 the last 3 games. That's not sustainable. I mean, it's great. It's been awesome. I traded for him like 3 weeks ago when this started. It's been great, but you're going up against a Green Bay defense that is pretty good. And you can't sustain only throwing the ball 19 times. And why it worries me is Green Bay's run defense isn't as good. And Pete Carroll likes to run the ball 1 billion times if he can. Now, it's hard to sit Russell Wilson, and I'm sure most people will suggest you start him. So I'm not going to tell you not to. I'm just going to say that right now, I think I'm doing this Wednesday night. So I think when it comes by the time Thursday morning rolls around, I don't think I'm starting him. The last 3 times he's faced Green Bay, he's had 19. He was 19 for 30 the first game with a 206 and 2 touchdowns. Second game, he was 14 for 22 with 240 and 1 touchdown. Last year when they faced him week 1, he was 14 to 27 for 158 yards. I don't like the history, and I don't like the fact that he's only throwing the ball 19 times, and they want to run the ball no matter what situation. They want to run the ball. His rushing does help you out in fantasy. I don't like the feel. It doesn't feel safe to me. It feels like I'm going to end come Thursday. I'm going to end with 220 and maybe a touchdown, maybe 2. I guess that's okay, but I'm shooting for a little higher with the teams that I have him. I need to make the playoffs, so I don't think I'm going to start him. Those numbers, past numbers, what he's doing this year doesn't lead me to be confident. Aaron Rodgers, you're starting Aaron Rodgers. I can't actually say much to make you not want to start Aaron Rodgers. Let's see if I can figure out something that would make you not want to start Aaron Rodgers. Nothing. His last game against them last year, week 1, same game as Wilson. He had 311 yards and a touchdown. A game before that, 2 years ago, he had 246 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now I'd say this. Aaron Rodgers is averaging about a 75 to 78% completion rating against Seattle, and that was well into Seattle being good. Seattle was a really good defense. Russell Wilson's averaging about a 58 completion percentage against Green Bay just over the years. The numbers just don't hold up well. I just don't like Wilson. I will rather start Dak Prescott, who's one quarterback I'm high on this week, over Russell Wilson. Dak feels safe. I feel like Russell, I'm going to be reaching, especially if I need extra stuff. I don't think I'm going to get it from him. He might average out, but it's a scary proposition. I need to reach a higher ceiling with him. So I'm not going to start him, which is weird to say considering how good he's been. But these are the kind of moves I make, and I make enough of them that I'm confident in that I would miss sometimes, but I'll be right more times than not. So, Rodgers, start. Wilson, sit if you can. Now to the running backs. If you can tell me what running back is going to do well for Seattle, then I got a bunch of money to give you so you can bet for me. If you can confidently tell me what running back is going to do what, then I got money for you to go bet for me. Because Mike Davis, Penny, Carson, they're all most likely to be healthy and playing. And Pete Carroll likes to run everyone. And when he ran everyone when they were healthy, they all got like 27, 47, 35. Those were the yardages they ended up with. I don't want any part of that, so I'm staying away completely from this backfield. They may be productive or not because, like I said, Green Bay's run defense is not as good, and that might be what they end up doing. They may end up running a lot. So each person getting 9 to 10 carries, I don't want any part of that. I don't think it's beneficial for me in fantasy. I can't predict it. I can't see it. It's just a total guess if you're playing any of those guys. Now, on Green Bay's side, Aaron Jones had a monster game against Miami. But I caution you, it was against Miami. Miami before last week again with Crowell, the week before, they were giving up an average of 200 total rushing yards to any team they played. So, Aaron Jones, calm it down a little bit. He had 15 carries. We act like a lot of people are acting like that's an increase. He had 12 the week before and 14 the week before. Technically, he only increased 1 carry, but he was way more productive in this game. And here's the thing you should know, though. Aaron Jones did not create a single yard in this game, which means his offensive line created all of the yards for him. The 2 weeks prior, he had created 30 and 35 yards against LA and New England. He had created 30 and 35 yards, which means he made those yards himself by evading tackles, the yards after contact. In this game, all his yards came that were greatly blocked by the offensive line. So I'd pause it. You still have to start him, but expect more of what you saw the 2 prior weeks, around 12 to 13 carries, about 80 yards, maybe a touchdown. That's what I expect, not what you saw last week. Last week was people want to crown him because we all been waiting. This is still Mike McCarthy and this is still Aaron Rodgers. This is still their normal offense. So I'd calm down on that. Probably trade him if I could. Everybody's been waiting for this, but when I saw it, I was like, okay, I don't see anything that's different or special. Wide receivers, Adams, Green Bay, you're starting. Lockett on Seattle, you're starting. Lockett is now the number 1 receiver. He has 4 touchdowns in the last 5 games. And it's because if Wilson's not throwing the ball a lot, you want the guy that has the explosive plays. Not the Doug Baldwin who may get more targets, like gets 7 targets, catches 5 for 36 yards or something like that. You want the guy who only gets 5 targets, catches 3, but one of them is a touchdown, and that is Lockett. Green Bay is going to be missing King. He's already been called out, so it's better for Lockett, I would say. Doug Baldwin, I'm just completely sitting him. If I can, I'd rather take upside from some other player on my team, like Ross in Cincinnati. Even though he's playing Baltimore, I still think he has more upside. And if not, his floor is about the same as Baldwin. MVS in Green Bay. I mean, he only had 44 yards on 7 targets. He caught 6 of them last week, but he played 96% of the snaps. Here's the thing. He has a weird pattern going, right? So his last 4 games against San Francisco, he had 3 catches on 6 targets for 103 yards. Then he plays LA, and he had 5 targets, 2 catches for 45 yards. Then you go and he plays New England, and he has 6 targets, catches 3, has 101 yards. Then plays Miami, which he should have thought would have been better, gets more targets, gets 7 targets, catches 6 of them for 44 yards. So if his pattern remains the same, he should have a 100-yard game coming up, because he goes 44 yards, 100 yards, 45 yards, 101 yards. That's just been his pattern. So I'll be very confident starting him if his pattern continues. If not, 5 catches for 45 yards. You can do worse, considering he's going to be a flex or your third wide receiver or someone like that. If I had to pick a defense, I would pick Green Bay's defense. Tight ends, don't play any. Green Bay has not allowed a touchdown to a tight end, so I wouldn't play any tight end from Seattle. Jimmy Graham, this is a revenge game, since the trade. So he hasn't played there since. So it's a revenge game. He may look to be better. So he would look to take advantage of him. So I would start him. Well, tight end is a barren wasteland. So Jimmy Graham is a nice play this week, just for the fact that he might try to put on a show. Not sure he's capable of putting on a show anymore, but at least try to be better than he has been. These games should be, 21, 24, 17, somewhere around there. But it's a Thursday night game. What I've been saying every end of every video, every podcast about Thursday night games, I predict, and then I'm wrong. So this game should be 41 to 34, something like that. It should go nuts. It wouldn't shock me. All Thursday night games have gone nuts, and I've killed myself not starting people on Thursdays because I see matchups or past history or it just doesn't make sense, and then boom, I am wrong. So sit at your own risk, because I have gotten maybe 2 Thursday night game right so far. Usually the results are right, but the way they go about it hasn't been right most of the time. It's not a good percentage for me. This has been the Fantasy Backpack. I appreciate you joining me. Let's go win some championships.